What's up, you guys? Devon here again with Obligatory, and today we are reading some of your reviews of Scaring the Hose by JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown. This has easily got to be one of the most hotly anticipated albums of the year. I don't think these two need much of an introduction. And actually, first, I want to read one of our team members' reviews. So one of the staff writers at Obligatory, this is Peter. He writes a lot of reviews for us, and he says, Scaring the Hose is the collaboration that the hip-hop world needed and waited for some time. The paths of JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown were sure to cross at some point. The worlds that they exist within bear many aesthetical similarities and kindred traits. Both parties seem to firmly subscribe to the anything goes, all is fair game approach. Scaring the Hose sonically resembles paintings where the paint has begun to warp and drip. Elements of the world have become crisscrossed and drip-dropped within each other. Worlds that have no right of mingling in each other's business become one under the roof of experimentation's touch. The mix of sounds and blend of styles on show is impressive to say the least, oftentimes awkward, off-kiltered, and always irreverent. Scaring the Hose blows your favorite album of the year out of the water. Were there ever any doubts of the pairing of JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown wouldn't release the best left-leaning material around? Great point by Peter. This is an exciting album on paper. These are two artists that get together, they announce that they're going to release an album, and you're like, whoa. The possibilities for this are very vast. So in a way, the expectations can be big, but at the same time, I really never had a doubt in my mind that this would at least be pretty good. All right, next up for community member reviews. These are followers of Obligatory that submitted their takes, their reviews, and we will start with Blake at Blake from Music on Instagram. And my expectations for this album were near impossible, and I still wasn't disappointed. Expectations for a project like this, again, for me, were pretty big, but the way they were able to come through on that, even though I was pretty sure it would be good, was impressive. They also said, I've been anticipating this album since the rumors began years ago. The beats on this are insane, and I think Peggy's production sound has found its sweet spot between experimental and accessible. That's pretty interesting to me as well. Like, I do think that while this is a genuinely experimental rap album, it does not bog you down with that, especially if that's not the kind of music that you want to hear. Not necessarily for everybody, but at the same time, it's not experimental to the point of being alienating to either this artist's fan base. All right, next up, we got Jack Hedeman. I'm so sorry if I'm fucking up your guys' names, but Jack says the production is really the shining star on this project. There's not a moment on here that isn't captivating. Peggy is just showing off at this point. The bars are great. Both Peggy and Danny had super entertaining performances. All I will say about the mix is that I'm fine with it, and I've gotten used to it, so I can't complain. It's obviously intentional. It's already one of my favorite albums of all time and album of the year easily. The notion of every moment in this being pretty captivating and worth really paying attention to. Like, there's no dozing off or, not fully paying attention or listening to what's happening, because it just forcefully grabs your attention. At Georgetownindy on Instagram gave this album an 8.8 and says, the album is more than a funny, outlandish hip-hop project flaunting Peggy and Danny's trademark chaotic attributes. Gotta agree there. He also says, key elements combine to craft a wholly novel thematic focus, the absurdity of the internet age. The rough around the edges mixing, the energetic percussion, and the warped samples of the past create an air of hopeless nostalgia for a time and culture fading away as we dive deeper into the post.com abyss. That's a really nice take on this album. It's a nice little excerpt from the full review that they sent us. You're going to notice a few people here talking about the mixing, and probably you've seen people on the internet as well, like discussing the merit of the style of the mix and master of this album's final product. And I got to say, I'm leaning towards what these people have already said, that when you listen to a JPEGMAFIA album, it's just, you know that it comes with this messy, kind of muddy, and sometimes glitchy and intentionally, not perfectly mixed sounds behind the rapper. But the thing that I actually have a problem with, and it's generally a small thing, but it's something I haven't noticed enough people mentioning specifically, it's not the way that these tracks are mixed. My biggest problem is sometimes I don't hear Danny. Like, And I don't have that issue ever with JPEGMAFIA. He sounds to fit a lot of these beats, and Danny sounds to fit most of them. And I think his catch radius, if you will, as a rapper, he can just gravitate to a lot of different beats. Both of these guys are very versatile, but there are moments where he is getting drowned out. And Danny Brown is a top 50 rapper of all time to me. Like, I think he's really one of the greats, and I was just a little bit disappointed that there are moments where I can't hear him. That's my rant over. But moving on to the next review we got from Berm. Sorry again if I didn't say you right. Berm at Berm33. Front to back flows so well without any tracks really blending together. Out of this world production with very sharp flows from both rappers. A collab that has long been awaited and definitely should make more together. The transition on Muddy Waters is next level. One of the best albums of the year so far. So again, I think a lot of people are in agreement that the chemistry is really there with this album, and that both guys really came with their A game in terms of the rapping, and then Peggy on the production. Like, everything is amped up to 11, and they're throwing tons of ideas at the wall. And that's what makes this a unique and, pretty interesting and exciting record. And one more review I want to read here. This was actually sent to us from Reedy, who sent us their reviews, links to their reviews on albumoftheyear.org. So you guys are always welcome to send us reviews that way too. Just link us to wherever you write them, and we will throw that link down in the description of one of these videos. Reedy says it's like a 36-minute roller coaster of sound as the listener just gets sent through insane thrills without any time wasted whatsoever. The listener is constantly stimulated, and each track feels completely different from the next. I think the way Peggy and Danny are able to fit so much action into such short runtime is extremely commendable, and I never feel drained from the experience as a whole. There are a few good points here that I really like. I never feel drained, even though there's so much going on. There's so much constantly stimulating production material and really high level rapping, but there's not the kind of fatigue that might set in with a record like this. And I think that it has to do with 14 tracks split up across 36 minutes. That's pretty good pacing. And then also that the way each track feels completely different from one to the next. I think that is also a really remarkable thing about this album. The differences between songs are just so complete and properly distinguished in the way that they transition from one song to the next, and the ideas that they implement from one to the next really go to show the differences between tracks, but also the range for both artists as rappers and as producers. All right, so thanks again to everybody that sent us a review on the weekly survey. Y'all made a lot of great points and wrote some really great stuff, and I enjoyed reading it. Again, we are going to be posting the results of this Scaring the Hose review very soon after this YouTube video goes up, and we will catch you in the next video. Thanks again for watching, and have a good rest of your day.